Part 19. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Faye. Chapter 182. Chapter 182. Ignore the temperature. There was silence in the hall, and everyone's eyes were focused on Liju. Surprised, puzzled, amazed. In short, she became the focus of everyone's attention. Liju. Liju stood firm, stepped out of Chi Jinkai's arms, straightened his skirt, and walked forward as if nothing had happened. Chi Jinkai's lips curved up, and he followed up. Who were the people just now? Looking at Liju's back, someone whispered and asked. I don't know, it seems that they are all invited by the president. The people who came to the annual meeting were basically Lin's employees, and they basically didn't know Chi Jinkai and the others. That seems to be, Mr. Chi from the imperial capital. Hey, look, is that the president's scandal target? He was referring to Baimwu, who was following Chi Jinkai. Really? Just because she's here, does it mean that she and the president are indeed having an affair? Who knows? No matter what the people behind him said, Baimwu pretended not to hear her and kept a smile on his face. However, Bai Yuxiu frowned. He said to the waiter next to him, please find us a quiet place. Okay sir, please follow me. Baimwu looked at Liju and the others in front of him and asked in surprise, brother, aren't we going to follow third brother and the others? You are too conspicuous now. Find a quiet place first, and then go find third brother later. All right. Over there, Chi Jinkai was chasing Liju, who looked a little annoyed, but he didn't expect to bump into Lin Yan head on. When he saw Liju, a smile appeared on his face and he greeted them, Third Master, Miss Li. Chi Jinkai nodded. Where are you two going? She's not used to this kind of situation, so I'll take her outside to get some fresh air, Chi Jing said. Lin Yan chuckled when he heard this. I thought the third master's statement that Miss Li didn't like parties was an excuse, but I didn't expect it to be true. He said to Liju, Miss Li Chi, if you don't like it here, the scenery on the deck is also good, and there is an indoor swimming pool here. Liju hummed, thank you, Mr. Lin. You're welcome, Lin Yan said. After speaking, he turned to Chi Jinkai. Third Master. Chi Jinkai stopped, huh? My sister just came back from abroad. She was very happy when she heard that you were coming. I wonder if I would be lucky enough to meet you. Liju raised her eyebrows, walked to Chi Jinkai and took his arm. She spoke one step ahead of him, okay, I'd like to meet Mr. Lin's sister. As he spoke, a hint of meaning flashed in Liju's eyes. See what kind of woman she is, and she has Ji Huai in hand. The annual meeting officially started in the evening, and now everyone on the ship is moving freely and visiting this new cruise ship. Liju and Chi Jinkai walked to the back deck and looked at the blue sea that connected with the sky in the distance. The sea breeze passed by and lifted the skirt of the dress, bringing a cool feeling. Liju rubbed her arms. If she had known, she would have brought a shawl over. At this moment, my body suddenly felt warm. Liju was stunned. When she looked back, Chi Jinkai took off his coat and put it on her body. The warm coat has a light mint smell that is unique to men, and it smells very comfortable. Are you not cold? Not cold. Liju curled her lips and tightened her coat. He is not cold and she is cold. This coat is not for nothing. Who knows who is cold? The scenery on the sea is not bad. Chi Jinkai stood by the railing, his light gray eyes reflecting the distance. Liju. The scenery is really good, if you ignore the touching temperature. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Faye. Chapter 183. Chapter 183. Why are you here? There is a room specially provided for rest on the cruise ship. The waiter took Bai Yuxiu and the others there and then left. The room was similar to the hotel they stayed in, and everything was fully equipped. Bai Yuxiu poured a glass of warm water for Baimwu from nowhere and said, Drink the warm water first to warm yourself up. When she got on the boat just now, she was only wearing a strapless dress and no coat at all. When the sea breeze blew, she caught a cold and got worse. Baimweo took a small sip, and the warmth extended from his throat to his stomach. Brother, when will the party start? Bai Yuxiu raised his wrist and looked at his watch and said, there will still be some time. Then I want to go out for a walk. Baimweo looked at him with bright eyes, full of expectation. Is there anything to wonder about? It's so stuffy here, I want to go out and breathe. Bai Yuxiu frowned. Many people on the ship knew her, and she was currently spreading scandals with Lin Yan. If something happened. As if seeing his worry, Baimweo said, brother, don't worry, I will be more careful. Bai Yuxiu was still worried, then let He Han and Song Luo accompany you. When their names were called, the two of them were about to say yes when Baimweo looked at them and froze them in place. Baimweo pursed his lips and said, brother, I'm not a child anymore. He still needs someone to accompany him. Bai Yuxiu thought for a moment and felt that the ship was such a big place, not to mention that there was surveillance, so it shouldn't matter, so he agreed, okay. Baimweo took a pair of sunglasses from He Han. In order to avoid trouble, she put on the clothes she had prepared before boarding the boat, which was low-key and unobtrusive. She came to the second floor, leaning on one side of the pillar, looking for something in the crowd below. Before boarding the ship, Li Ju gave her a task. That means to find Ji Huai for her. His eyes wandered back and forth a few times, and finally landed on a man and woman near the door. Beside them, today's protagonist, Lin Yan, stood. Baimweo raised his eyebrows and found it. The next moment, she turned her eyes away in disgust. Tisk, why is Ji Huai so dressed up today? Wearing a sharp red suit, he showed off his perfect figure. Not only was he specially styled, he also applied hair wax, which made him shine under the light. It's really annoying to the eyes. Baimweo was disgusted, but Ji Huai below didn't notice at all. Sorry, I have to go to the bathroom. He calmly changed the topic that Lin Yanming secretly wanted him to invest in, and turned around and walked to the bathroom. Baimweo, who was upstairs, saw this scene, pushed up the sunglasses on the bridge of his nose, and disappeared around the corner. There was a sound of water in the men's bathroom. Ji Huai turned off the faucet, waved his hand, and went to get toilet paper. As a result, when he raised his head, he saw half of his face covered by sunglasses in the mirror. He yelled and jumped several meters away in an instant. His eyes widened and he looked at the person in shock. Who are you? Baimweo took off his sunglasses and smiled, what? I don't know you anymore. As she spoke, she closed the bathroom door and locked it. Ji Huai looked at her movements, his eyes widened even more, and his eyes were even filled with fear. You, why are you here? Baimweo crossed his arms and looked at him calmly, you can be here, why can't I be here? Seeing that she didn't understand what he meant at all, Ji Huai felt like crying. No, sister, this is. He swallowed his saliva and said, the men's room. Baimweo, I know, otherwise you were going to the women's restroom. Ji Huai. No, what he means is, you are a woman and a female star. Why are you washing your hands with men? End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 184. Chapter 184, Stuck in the Bathroom. Ji Huai's expression was once very exciting. It would be really nice if a random person broke in at this time. Boss Bai, can we go out and talk about anything? If you take him here any longer, he will have to explode on the spot. Talk to a woman face to face in the men's restroom. This feels so scary. Baimwe raised his eyebrows and said, "That's fine, I'm here to take you to see the boss anyway." Ji Huai's steps froze just as he was about to step out. He turned back to look at her in disbelief. "Who are you talking about?" Baimwe smiled at him. "Boss." Ji Huai's legs went weak and he subconsciously wanted to run away. He swallowed, visually measured the distance between himself and the bathroom door, and then calculated the probability that he could escape from Baimwe's hands. After getting the answer of 0, Ji Huai said to Baimwe with an expression calmly facing death, "Boss, why are you looking for me? What do you think?" Ji Huai. He couldn't say for sure. Ji Huai still wanted to leave immediately. However, before he could make a move, Baimwe stepped forward and grabbed his collar. "Let's go, Mr. Ji, the boss will be waiting impatiently." Ji Huai, who was almost out of breath by her tug because his shirt was buttoned tightly, said, wait a moment." Baimwe stopped. "Huh?" Ji Huai was about to cry but had no tears. "Boss, I can walk by myself. So you don't have to grab my hand." "Oh." Baimwe retracted his hand, crossed his chest, and pursed his lips toward the door, as if to invite me. Ji Huai took a step forward, opened the door, and faced the person standing outside the door the next second. This person is none other than his current girlfriend, Lin Yan's sister, Lin Yao. Ji Huai, his eyes suddenly widened, as if he had seen a ghost. Almost instantly, his hands reflexively slammed the door shut, making a clink sound, cutting off Lin Yao's sight outside. Lin Yao didn't know why. She saw that Ji Huai had been gone for too long, so she came to look for him. Unexpectedly, I saw that the door of the men's bathroom was locked. Just as I was about to knock on the door, he opened the door. Before he could figure out what was going on, he locked the door again. Lin Yao stretched out his hand and knocked on the door. "Ji Huai. What's going on? Why did you close the door?" Ji Huai, who was behind the door, took a deep breath and realized that he had forgotten to read the almanac when he went out today. "I came to attend an annual party and bumped into Boss Bai in the bathroom. Not only did I bump into my girlfriend as soon as I went out. Fortunately, he reacted quickly just now, but Baimwe was blocked behind him again, so Lin Yao did not see her. Otherwise, he would really be unable to wash himself off even if he jumped into the sewer." "Ji Huai, are you okay?" I'm fine." Ji Huai tried to calm his voice and replied. "Why are you closing the door?" Lin Yao's soft voice came from behind the door, with some worry in his tone. Ji Huai leaned against the door with his back, a thin trickle of sweat dripping down his forehead, fearing that if she barged in on a whim, he would be done with it. In comparison, Baimwe looked particularly calm and composed, as if she was not the one who accidentally broke into the men's restroom. "No, it's nothing." Ji Huai finally found his voice. I accidentally got it on my shoes when I went to the bathroom just now." After saying that, Ji Huai's face immediately turned red. "What a shame. In order to find an excuse, you actually made up such a disgusting reason." As expected, after hearing his words, Lin Yao's expression outside the door finally changed, and a trace of disgust flashed in his eyes. "Then, take care of it. I'll wait for you in the lobby," Lin Yao said. "Good." Ji Huai wished she could leave quickly. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 185. Chapter 185. Ji Huai, I forgot. Ji Huai breathed a sigh of relief as the footsteps outside the door gradually faded away. "Finally left. Okay Ji Huai, we haven't seen each other for a few months, but you've fallen in love with a girl again," Baimwe joked. "Don't talk nonsense, she and I are just friends." Baimwe sneered, obviously not believing it, and asked, a kind of ordinary friend who can meet his parents. Ji Huai's face froze, recalling the scene in the hall just now, and blurted out, "Are you following me?" Bimwe rolled his eyes, but because he was wearing sunglasses, Ji Huai didn't see him. A certain person is so upright, I guess it's hard not to see him, right? Ji Huai. Ji Huai remained silent, his eyes flickering as if he was embarrassed. Seeing him like this, Bimwe narrowed his eyes and asked in a deep voice, "Ji Huai, when did you and Lin Yao meet?" "Few weeks ago." Bimwe was shocked. "You fell in love with her in such a short time. Is it fast? Compared with my predecessors, it is already very slow." Bimwe just wanted to give him a slap in the face. In order to avoid anyone coming over and accidentally bumping into Bimwe, the two of them left quickly without talking any more. In a room on the second floor, the door suddenly opened. Ji Huai was pushed by Bimwe behind him and staggered, falling into the room. When he raised his head, he was facing Li Ju, who was sitting there with his legs crossed and a leisurely expression. Seeing Ji Huai, Li Ju put down the magazine in his hand, raised his eyebrows, and said in a normal tone, as if greeting an old friend, "Long time no see." Ji Huai, "Okay, long time no see, boss." Bimwe followed him into the room and locked the door. "This is the rest room for the staff on the ship. They found it specially. No one usually comes here. But it's better to be cautious. After all, it is not convenient for the fourth person to know what they are going to say next." Bimwe walked to her and sat down, crossing his legs that were exactly the same as Li Ju's, and stared at Ji Huai with her, his eyes indifferent. The two people's eyes were all on Ji Huai, which was a little too much for him to bear. Simply, Ji Huai gritted his teeth and said directly, "Boss, just ask whatever you want." Li Ju chuckled, "I don't want to ask you anything, I'm just curious." Ji Huai raised his head in surprise, "What are you curious about?" "I'm curious how you and Lin Yao got involved." "No, it should be how she fell in love with you." Ji Huai's mouth twitched sharply. "Boss, you can hit or scold me if you want, but can you not attack me personally?" Li Ju laughed, "Why did I attack you personally? Am I wrong? The eldest lady of the Lin group and the sister of the richest man in Anken, what do you want? Why do you want to fall in love with you, a guy who can even form a company with your predecessor?" The more Li Ju talked about it, the more incredible she felt. She turned to Bimwe and asked, "Lao Lu, what do you think she is after?" Bimwe was also unsure of Lin Yao's temperament and said uncertainly, "Are you just trying to be lonely?" Ji Huai. Ji Huai said unconvinced, "Can't she just want my money and good looks?" Li Ju sneered, "Qian Duyan is good? I think people with too much money are stupid. Ji Huai is autistic. Okay, let's get down to business." With just one word, Li Ju pulled back Ji Huai, who was squatting in the corner drawing mushrooms. "What's the matter?" Ji Huai didn't know why. Li Ju asked, "Ji Huai, how did you and Lin Yao meet?" Ji Huai pondered for a moment and gave a surprising answer, "I forgot." "Forget?" Li Ju and Bimwe looked at each other. "What kind of memory do you have? How can you forget this?" Bimwe said with hatred. "I'm afraid this person is short-sighted, right? Have you forgotten how you met your girlfriend?" End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy Enfe. Chapter 186. Chapter 186 knows what he is going to do. Ji Huai pursed his lips and did not dare to speak. His acquaintance with Lin Yao was a mistake in the first place. He himself was still confused and could not remember the details. Li Ju narrowed his eyes and asked the real question, "Didn't I ask you to stay in S continent first?" Ji Huai suddenly frowned. "Boss, you don't even know what kind of life I've been living there these days." The last few words can be described as heartbreaking, roaring out from deep in the chest. Paired with the expression on his face that he would rather die than live, He really felt like he was being abused. He pretended to wipe the non-existent tears from the corner of his eyes, looked at Li Ju with desolate eyes, and kept crying, you, boss, I almost couldn't come back. If I hadn't been lucky, I'm afraid the year-end bonus will be turned into a pension. Speak to me properly. Li Ju twitched the corner of her mouth and couldn't bear to look directly at his dramatic look. Ji Hui responded immediately, boss, you really guessed it right before. Seeing that something happened to Jing Junyu's power, several big families in S state are secretly trying to take advantage of the troubled waters. As he spoke, his tone was full of grievances. You don't know, I am annoyed by them even though I am the president of MZ. Those old men invite me to tea every now and then. The key point is that the major families are intertwined. If he leans slightly towards any family, I am afraid that other families will not let him go. After all, in their eyes, MZ is just a piece of cake. If he cannot get it, it is better to destroy him. But they forgot one thing. Although he is the president of MZ in name, he is actually a part-time worker. The real boss is not him, so why bother with him? In the past few months, he has been frightened every day. He has exhausted his IQ to mediate among those old men, and he has lost several pounds. Ji Hui became angrier the more he thought about it. Why is the real boss so carefree and engaged in the imperial capital, yet he has to be so worried in that ghost place in S continent? I thought that I must discuss with Li Ju this time when I return to China and get a salary increase, otherwise I will be sorry for what he has experienced in the past few months. But after meeting Li Ju, Ji Hui thought, let's forget it. If he really dared to argue with Li Ju, he would lose his job, let alone a salary increase. Li Ju listened to his experience, stretched out his hand to support his chin, and asked, there is no action from the J organization. MZ's status in the international arena is obvious to all. Although it is a new star, it is by no means inferior to any international consortium. If we can get the support of MZ, it will be a big help to anyone. The major families in Continent S have always had an antagonistic relationship with Jing Junyu's J organization. If they were to win over them, it would be a big trouble for the J organization. And now, there is no movement at all from Organization J? This is too strange, right? Li Ju thought about it. Qi Jinkai didn't seem like a person who remained indifferent even when others provoked him, so how come this time? No, that's not right. A bright light suddenly flashed in Li Ju's eyes. There seems to be something wrong. Ji Hui, Li Ju said in a deep tone. Ah. What happened to the traders from Organization J that you mentioned earlier? Ji Hui was suddenly asked about this. He was stunned, thought for a moment, and said, I don't know the details, but it seems to have been solved. Solution, how to solve it? Ji Hui spread his hands and said, how can we solve it? According to Jing Junyu's style, if someone is caught, they will definitely not be able to keep him. Li Ju narrowed his eyes. Have you seen him deal with the traders with your own eyes? That's not true. I heard the old man Chart talking about it with others when I was a guest at the Chart family. Hearing this, the corners of Li Ju's lips suddenly rose slightly. She seemed to know what Qi Jinkai was going to do. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 187. Chapter 187 Interesting. Charter, Li Ju thought about this family carefully. Li Ju turned around and asked Baimwiu, who is Gu La's family? Gu La Chart, one of the senior R&D personnel hired by MZ with a large sum of money. Baimwiu nodded, yes, but the relationship between Gu La and the Charter family is not very good. It can even be said to be very stiff. Although the current head of the Chart family is Watson, the real power is still in the hands of his father. Ji Hwai nodded and said, yes, even when Charter invited me, it was in the name of the old master. In general, the current head of the Chart family is nothing more than an empty shell. Bimweo frowned. Charter has always acted cautiously, for fear of getting into trouble. Why did he woo you in such a big way this time? Ji Hwai shook his head, I don't know. Is it possible to cooperate with other families? It's unlikely, Li Ju suddenly interrupted. Continental power has been divided for decades. Old families like Chart have long-standing grievances between them. It can be said that they have been accumulated from previous generations. It is impossible for them to cooperate peacefully. Then there must be something that Charter wants to get at any risk, Bimweo thought. Li Ju was silent on the side, thinking rapidly in his mind. Ji Hwai suddenly lowered his head and glanced at the time. Boss, the party is about to start. If I don't go out, Lin Yao should be anxious. After saying that, he stood up and left. Wait a minute, Li Ju shouted. Ji Hwai stopped and asked, what's wrong? Li Ju looked up at him and said, are you and Lin Yao serious? Ji Hwai smiled, boss, when did you think I was serious? Women are like clothes, they are most vivid and vivid on him. Every woman around him will not be together for more than a few months. In this regard, he is quite similar to Lu Shaokai. The same playfulness. But sometimes it is better to be passionate than to be devoted. After all, since ancient times, sad people have always been affectionate. In that case, please help me keep an eye on your current girlfriend. How? Li Ju's lips raised in a mysterious arc. I'm worried that your little girlfriend is more capable than I expected. Ji Hwai was stunned for a moment, then remained silent for a few seconds, nodded and said, okay. The party was about to begin, and all the guests arrived in the hall one after another. Li Ju did not stay here any longer, but went to find Chi Jinkai with Bimweo. Where have you gone? Seeing that Li Ju had been gone for so long, Chi Jinkai frowned, worried that she had lost her way, and when he was about to look for someone, she came back again. Didn't I tell you to visit other places? Chi Jinkai raised his eyebrows, what next? Then Li Ju shrugged, this ship is really boring. Boring. This place was built by top designers, and countless people who want to visit have no chance. She complained that it was boring here? Chi Jinkai pursed his thin lips and said thoughtfully, then I will take you to see something that won't be boring. How interesting can it be? Li Ju asked. I guarantee you like it, or I'll give you a car, okay? Li Ju had a sly smile hidden in her eyes and chuckled, okay, it's a deal. Third brother, if you want to give your sister-in-law a gift, just give it to her directly. Why are you beating around the bush? Bai Yuxiu, who was watching from the sidelines, couldn't help but complain. Such an obvious advantage was given to Li Juzan just because she was told to give it to her. Isn't this a free gift? Brother, you don't understand, this is the love between the third brother and the sister-in-law. Bimweo naturally took up what Bai Yuxiu said. Chi Jinkai. Li Ju. God is so interesting. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 188. Chapter 188. Go over and say hello. The party began, the lights were complicated, and the moving figures in the hall were reflected on the surrounding walls. Lin Yan was dealing with all kinds of guests with a smile. There was a woman beside him with fresh short hair and a long blue dress, which made her look restrained and calm, making her appear solemn and mature. However, she is actually not very old, she looks to be in her 20s at most. Looking at Ji Hwai behind the woman, her identity is self-evident. Lin Yao, Lin Yan's sister, is also the rumored rotten peach blossom of Chi Jinkai. Li Ju couldn't help but secretly glance at Chi Jinkai. The latter still had an indifferent expression. Even the look he looked at Lin Yao was indifferent, and it was completely impossible to tell that he knew this person. At this moment, Lin Yao was holding Ji Huai's arm with a smile on his face, his eyes were shining brightly, and anyone who looked at him would think that they were a couple in love. Then the question arises. Is Lin Yao really Qi Jinkai's peach blossom? Li Ju squinted his eyes, feeling that he might have been deceived. Just as she was looking at Lin Yao and thinking blankly, Lin Yao happened to notice her. Brother, is that the third master's fiancé? Lin Yao lowered his head and approached Lin Yan and asked in a low voice. Lin Yan followed her gaze and nodded, yes. Lin Yao's eyes flashed quickly, she is here, and the third master is also here. Li Ju wanted to eat a small cake just now, but it was inconvenient to wear high heels, so he sent Qi Jinkai to help her get it, so Lin Yao only saw Li Ju. Well, here we come. Lin Yao paused for a few seconds and said, brother, since the third master is here, I'd better go say hello, otherwise I'll look very rude. Ah why, what do you think? Seeing Lin Yao suddenly curing himself, Ji Huai was stunned for a moment and said, it's all fine, it's up to you. You. Lin Yao frowned and sighed, forget it, this person has been like this since the two of them started dating, saying anything is fine, whatever and okay to everything they ask. You could say he was perfunctory, but his expression was so serious that you couldn't find anything wrong with him. But it's very annoying. Is this really the president of MZ? It shouldn't be fake, right? Lin Yao couldn't help but doubt the information she had received again. Although he thought so in his heart, on the surface he still happily held his arm with Ji Huai and said in a coquettish tone, ah Huai, will you come with me? Good. Lin Yao curled his lips and smiled. Miss Li, it's an honor to meet you. Hello, my name is Lin Yao. Lin Yao pulled Ji Huai to stand in front of Li Ju, showing a friendly and bright smile, exuding an attractive temperament. Hello, hello, please give me permission. Li Ju's tone was calm, and his attention was not here at all. His eyes did not fall on her at all, but simply ignored her. Lin Yao, who had never been treated like this before, his expression froze, then turned around to look. She saw Qi Jinkai, who in her impression was as cold as the holy snow on the mountain, holding a plate of small cakes in one hand. He walked past her and walked to Li Ju with unhurried steps, and naturally put the cup in his hand. The thing was handed to her. Li Ju's eyes lit up, and she took it and couldn't wait to take a bite. The delicate, silky, sweet taste filled the tip of his tongue, and Li Ju sighed, the desserts here are quite good. After being ignored for a long time, Lin Yao's expression was almost unbearable, and the fingers on Ji Huai's arm subconsciously tightened slightly. She spoke again, if Miss Li likes to eat, I can ask the chef to make another one for you. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 189. Chapter 189. We should be glad that we are not real. Li Ju took a small bite of the cake and said vaguely, no, thank you. Lin Yao lowered his head, hiding the flash of emotion in his eyes, and then smiled at Qi Jinkai, dignified and grand, hoping to leave a good impression on him. Third master, long time no see. Qi Jinkai glanced at her indifferently, have we met? Li Ju's lips curled up slightly, and she could barely hold back her smile. Co-author Lin Yaofang has made a secret promise to you for so long, and you don't even know who she is. He is truly a talent. Lin Yao's originally perfect expression froze, and she gave a stiff laugh. Third master, have you forgotten? The last time you and my brother discussed cooperation, I also went. No impression. Lin Yao was extremely embarrassed, but there was Li Ju watching next to her. She couldn't lose her composure and could only find a place for herself. Maybe I attracted special attention, so you didn't remember me. Hearing this, Qi Jinkai looked her up and down with side eyes. Lin Yao thought he finally noticed him, and felt happy. However, the next second, Chi Jinkai spoke indifferently, saying word by word, "Indeed, he looks ordinary." Li Ju couldn't help it and laughed out loud. "No, no, no, this is an embarrassing scene. I'm really curious about Lin Yao's psychological shadow now." Lin Yao's face completely turned pale. Fortunately, in order to ease this embarrassing situation, Ji Huai behind her stepped forward in time and said to Qi Jing, "Hello, Third Master, I have long admired your name. I am Ji Huai." Qi Jingkai's eyes fell on him. "Ji Huai, the president of MZ." Ji Huai nodded, "Yes, I haven't been able to meet with you due to work reasons. Please forgive me." Qi Jingkai nodded, "It's okay. I heard that SR and MZ have a cooperation project, and I wish us a happy cooperation." Ji Huai raised the champagne in his hand and raised it to him. Qi Jingkai also picked up the red wine beside him and clinked glasses with him, then put the glass to his lips and took a sip. "I don't know Mr. Ji and Miss Lin." Qi Jingkai's eyes wandered between Lin Yao and Ji Huai, the meaning in his eyes was obvious. Ji Huai put his arm around Lin Yao's shoulders and said, "She is my girlfriend." Qi Jingkai raised his eyebrows, seemingly surprised. "In that case." Qi Jingkai put down the wine glass, put his arms around Li Ju, and pulled Li Ju into his arms, "Then my fiancé and I won't disturb you too. Let's take our leave." After saying that, he turned around and left with Li Ju without even giving Lin Yao a look. Behind him, Lin Yao's face turned red and white, obviously angry. When the two people's backs completely disappeared from sight, Ji Huai almost instantly withdrew his hand on Lin Yao's shoulder, as if he had touched something dirty. When Lin Yao saw him like this, the anger he had been building since just now exploded. "What do you mean?" She looked at Ji Huai with sullen eyes, her tone was more like ice, "You dislike me so much." Ji Huai adjusted his suit and tie slowly. Bim Wu pulled him a little bit, but he didn't notice it. "You just know. You dash." Lin Yao was furious and pointed angrily at Ji Huai with his finger. The latter smiled contemptuously, raised his hand and brushed it away easily, saying, "Lin Yao, you should be glad that we are not real boyfriend and girlfriend, otherwise, according to my temper, you would have been kicked away by me." Ji Huai said this in a calm tone, but the biting coldness in his eyes was clearly visible. "If you hook up with other men in front of him, is it because you think he has too much patience?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 190. Chapter 190. I can't continue acting. Unexpectedly, as soon as these words came out, Lin Yao sneered, "Hey, Mr. Ji, you seem to be very self-sufficient. I'm afraid you can't do anything unclear with other women in front of your girlfriend. Do less. At the end of the day, the two of them are just 1.5 pounds and the other is 8 ounces. No one should laugh at the other." Ji Huai's eyes suddenly darkened, he grabbed Lin Yao's wrist and pulled her over. Because his movements were too rough, Lin Yao grunted in pain and fell unsteadily into his arms. Lin Yao struggled twice and wanted to leave, but was tightly restrained by Ji Huai's hands. In the eyes of other people, this is a very affectionate gesture between lovers, but only the person involved knows what turbulence lies beneath this ambiguity. Ji Huai lowered his head, his lips almost touching Lin Yao's ear, and said slowly, "I agree to cooperate with you, but it doesn't mean that you can fight with me." Lin Yao tried his best to raise his head and look at him, his eyes not to be outdone. "Then don't forget, I still have something you want in my hand." Ji Huai chuckled and suddenly released his grip on her body. He instead clasped her shoulders with his hands and said, "Of course I haven't forgotten, so." He was slightly closer. From the perspective of others, it looked like he was kissing Lin Yao. The lingering affection between the two made many women present jealous. That's President MZ. A truly tall, rich, and handsome man. His face alone is enough to make many women flock to him, let alone his net worth. It was just taken into Lin Yao's pocket, and he didn't give others a way to survive. How can you not be envious and jealous? However, only Lin Yao knew that sometimes this man was not as simple as he seemed. For example, right now. A devilish voice sounded in my ears, "You'd better not wear out my patience." At the last word, he deepened his tone, and a stern look flashed in his eyes. Lin Yao couldn't help but feel his whole body tense up, and a chill ran down his spine. At this moment, a burst of regret suddenly emerged in her heart. Why did she provoke this man at that time? He is not as easy to deal with as he appears. Lin Yao laughed at himself and silently despised his own eyes. Why does she regard the dignified CEO of MZ so simply? Those who can sit in that position are not ordinary people. But she made a fatal mistake and underestimated him, which made it difficult for her to escape unscathed. Ji Huai's demonic voice still sounded in her ears, "Remember, be obedient." Like the tender words whispered between lovers, but mixed with a heart-stopping chill. Ji Huai showed an extremely gentle smile towards Lin Yao, his eyes were full of doting, but there was no emotion in them. He suddenly bent down and carefully and thoughtfully straightened the folds on Lin Yao's dress. Lin Yan, who was not far away, looked at the scene with a smile on his lips, secretly thinking that Xiao Yao had a good vision this time and chose MZ's thigh. Now, with this relationship, it will definitely be more convenient for him to do things in the future. Many. Lin Yan never thought that everything he saw was an illusion that Ji Huai could act out. After beating Lin Yao, Ji Huai took her to the lounge and said to her, "You stay here, I have something else to do." "Where are you going?" Lin Yao asked. Ji Huai glanced back at her, "This is not something you should care about." Listening to his cold and ruthless tone, Lin Yao unconsciously clenched his hands and dug his slender nails into his palms. She bit her lip, her eyes filled with anger. Ji Huai's attitude towards her has changed since she took the initiative to talk to Third Master just now. Can't even pretend to be in love anymore. Just left her here. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 191. Chapter 191. There is no clue at all. Ji Huai left Lin Yao in the lounge and returned to the hall alone. "I thought you weren't coming back." Ji Huai turned around and saw Bai Muo leaning against the wall, looking at him leisurely. "I can't tell, Ji Huai, I thought you and Lin Yao had some real feelings for each other, but I didn't expect that." Bai Muo sighed with emotion. She had witnessed everything just now. Ji Huai really didn't show mercy to women. In public, he blatantly threatens people. His look in his eyes can scare people to death. Ji Huai snorted coldly, "I don't want to share her feelings with you. We're just using each other, that's all in the past, but this time she's too ignorant." "You actually want to hook up with the Third Master? Don't even look at how much you weigh. Is it enough for the boss to torment?" She even approached her fiancé in front of the boss to strike up a conversation. Was it because she thought she was dying too slowly? It doesn't matter that she is seeking death, he hasn't dug out what he wants from her mouth yet. Having played the vulgar boyfriend-girlfriend drama with her for so long, if she tried to kill herself, wouldn't he have endured it all these months in vain? So where is Miss Lin? Bai Muo glanced behind him and found that Lin Yao was not there. "I threw her in the lounge to save her from causing trouble." Ji Huai was really angry with Lin Yao and his tone of voice was very bad. Bai Muo pursed his lips and smiled, "It's rare to see you so angry, why? Is there anything different about Lin Yao?" Ji Huai was silent for a moment, then asked, "Do you know where I met her?" Bai Muo raised his eyebrows, "Didn't you say you forgot?" Ji Huai rolled his eyes, "Do you believe someone who fooled the boss?" "Oh, fooling the boss." Bai Muo looked like he suddenly realized something, and the last note was extremely long. The next second, she stepped forward suddenly, stretched out 2 fingers, and pinched Ji Huai's ears hard. "Are you so brave recently, you dare to fool even the boss?" Bai Mu gritted his teeth, word after word popping out from between his teeth. "Iffies." Ji Huai suddenly took a breath and wrinkled his face in pain. "Boss Bai. Be gentle. It hurts." Ji Huai had a sad look on his face after finally freeing his red ears from Bai Mu's hands. "I didn't mean it. If the boss finds out, she will definitely be angry again." Bai Mu hummed softly and leaned against the wall. "So, what are you doing behind the boss's back?" Ji Huai's face darkened. "What is a bad thing? Does he seem to be afraid of ghosts knocking on the door?" Ji Huai glanced around and found that no one was paying attention here. He approached her and whispered, "When I was in S state, I happened to meet Lin Yao and the Mo family uncle secretly." "What did you say?" As soon as he finished speaking, a clear voice came from behind him. Ji Huai's face froze and he slowly turned his head. "Boss." Bai Mu also straightened up and said, "Boss." Li Ju slowly walked up to them, turned to face Ji Huai, frowned and asked, "Is what you just said true?" Ji Huai's mouth twitched. "Why is the boss so mysterious? The ears are quite good. You can hear what he said clearly from such a distance." The more he didn't want Li Ju to know, the result was the opposite. But now that the matter has come to this, he can only tell the truth. "I also happened to find out once that Lin Yao had a cooperative relationship with the Mo family uncle, and I have been investigating since then. But the old fox, the uncle of the Mo family, did his job perfectly. He followed him for several months, but he couldn't catch anything. Tomorrow is the college entrance examination. I wish all senior high school students the best of luck. Stay steady, don't panic, you can win. The future is like a sea and the days ahead are long." End of this chapter.